CM. He is the president and the executive director, Emerald Planet, and the director and the host of Emerald Planet TV production. So, and I'm going to allow VJ to add to what I know. Otherwise, I'll yield the floor to the guest speaker to give us a little background about himself and take the charge for the topic of the day. Thank you very much, Dr. Sam.
Yeah,
That'll be fine.
Just one thing I would like to add. He's very active on the environment platform, and even emeraldplanet.tv. You would find most of the videos would be on the environmental project done by Rotary, and he's an active participant in the SRI group also. And anything relating to environment, he's always there. That is just what I would like to add. Dr. Sam, all yours.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put my PowerPoint up. I think I need to click on share. So VJ, I'm learning about you all the time. It's okay. I go ahead and
yeah, you are on. You are on.
Am I on? Okay.
Yes, you are on. You can continue. We can watch it.
Okay, I think I can control my slides from here. We're talking about disease prevention and control. We think about vaccines. We think about having the flu. We think about, all kinds of things that we're going to do for ourselves. But about 50 to 60% of all the illnesses that we're having, and also deaths from cancer and many others, as well as early childhood deaths. These are babies 0 to young children to 5 years of age. About 1 per minute are dying because of bad water. And that's what we're going to be talking about. If we do not fix our water on planet Earth, one, we're going to run out of it. And secondly, is that we're going to just continue to spend billions of dollars, as we're doing in the United States, to fix something that we need to be doing coming out of our homes, out of our factories, off the streets, out of the schools, the hospitals, everything else, is that we need to take care of water. And if we don't, it's going to be, we're going to just continue to have more illnesses, spend more money, and we have sicker populations all over the planet. That's not what we want. And so we're here. I'm very involved with ESRAG, the Rotary Action Group for Peace, WASH, Rotary Action Group, Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene. And of course, we're here under the banner of Rotary International. But Rotary can actually address and fix this. 46,000 clubs, 1.5 million members and growing, and 200 countries and territories. Rotary has the reach, it has the muscle, and it has the resources to bring profound change. And what's led me to this, out of the last 2 decades, we've been looking for what we call the best practices, the green best practices. We have 2,900 of those already posted on our website. And we say we can build a waterless toilet in the middle of the desert, or rebuild all of downtown Manhattan, New York City of New York. And that's no exaggeration. We have identified the people, the brain trust, the innovation, the technologies, the products, the services, and the people that can do each and all these. And that's how I met this young man right in front of us. This is Alan Weiss. He's the president, CEO, as you see here, of Global Water Group. But over 30 years ago, started working with the United States government to bring about a profound change as far as the water that was going into the military and to any of the institutions of the United States military, and also the humanitarian organizations. And what they wanted to exceed WHO standards, which there's right now, no facility on planet Earth, and there's hundreds of thousands of them, that meet WHO standards going back almost 70 years. 70 years later, we're still not meeting the standards. And what that is that to remove all of the parasites, the pathogens, the harsh chemicals, and the poop, the bad stuff that's coming out of homes and buildings and all of that, getting into the water. And we're gonna see that, how to do it, and we're going to move forward on that process. Here we are, and this is one of the 4 areas, or 2 of the 4 areas we're taking in the next 50 years for the Emerald Planet, is the elimination of all hazardous waste going into the water bodies, onto the land, into the air, and to produce pure drinking water that actually allows people to heal from the inside out. I'm going to say that again, heal people from the inside out, instead of trying to spend billions, actually worldwide, trillions of dollars on drugs and other kinds of pharmaceuticals that are only keeping people alive, but not really curing them. And what we want to do is have water and food that's going to be able to do that. You can see here, supporting the environment. This is a 2-year-old initiative by Rotary International that we're only over 100 years late in having the environment of one of the 7 areas of focus, and you can see the others at the top. But the 2 here that we have naturally joined together, and they're doing it themselves all over the world of Rotary, is promoting peace and supporting the environment. And then these others all become support systems and networks to do promoting peace and supporting the environment. Very important. Here are the statistics, very dire indeed. 2.2 billion people do not have safe water to drink. About 1.2 billion of these people don't have any water to drink. And so they're begging water, buying water, and money that they don't have, because these populations are ones that are in the $2 or less, or $1 or less per day in income. And how can they afford water? And it's just like power and other things too. 3.6 billion people, only 46%, do not have a place to go to the bathroom. I mean, this is just amazing. Here we are, a world system of almost now, 8.3 billion or more people on the planet. They don't have safe drinking water, and they don't have a place to go to the bathroom. And then another 3 billion, many overlapping in these numbers, of course, do not have a place to wash their hands or to take a shower. Just think of that. And we talk about disease prevention and control. If we don't have safe drinking water, we don't have a safe place that goes and processes. Everybody okay? A safe place to go to the bathroom, or they can't take a shower, then we can't have disease prevention control. Somebody needs to mute. Okay. Hi, Vince. And then, the whole thing about it is we have all of these refugees, 89.3 million refugees, 59, almost 60 million of these internally displaced. Number one cause is water. Number one cause is lack of water. And so the whole thing about it is that we see this last number, almost 3.6 million people are dying because of water-related diseases or the lack of potable water. And so the whole thing about it is we need to get very serious about how we take this and how we're providing water to the world population. But we have to realize that the water that we have is what is actually making people, almost 50% of the population, sick, are having catastrophic diseases because of chlorine that's being used to clarify the water. The number one thing WHO has said, no chlorine in dirty water. All dirty water has chlorine. So go figure, because that makes it carcinogenic. So what we're doing is we're sending poisonous water for people to drink to get sick. That's not how we're supposed to live as human beings on the world. And that certainly is not the credo of Rotary International. We have to do better. And one of the things that we need to do as we're gradually running out of water, and it's being filled with what you see here, this is coronavirus. And what's happening is that around the world, we have, millions that died from the coronavirus and other pathogens. And where are all these going? These are all collecting in the sanitation departments and where we're supposed to be treating the waste. The problem is none of these systems are able to eliminate the coronavirus from the water that they're trapping in these sanitation locations. So they're saying that the world's next largest disaster, maybe beyond nuclear war, maybe all these pathogens are collecting and they're going back out onto the land, into the water, into the air. And so what we've been looking for, and literally I've been searching for this for over 20 years, because I was very much involved in my first Rotary Club for about 20 years, and now almost 24, 25 years in Washington, D.C. Club, is that I was going out on projects and we're talking about water. And I first was on the African continent going back in 1976 during the bicentennial of the United States. And all of these wells were being drilled. There were water collection centers off the top of the schools, from the municipal buildings, other ways to harvest water. Yet all of this was becoming either collecting dirty water and staying dirty, or we were taking clean water that we filtered, we're putting it in dirty pipes, and we're sending it out to the population, again, paying, billions of dollars, and they're drinking dirty water because don't have a system that actually purifies the water and keeps it purified. And so through our research, looking at about 2,800 different best practices in 103 countries, we identified this water system out in Texas. And this is, again, they really couldn't talk about it because everything was under non-disclosure agreements with the United States government and the Department of Defense. But I could talk to them on the QT, and I became so interested in this. And then finally, as we were talking, the military and the U.S. government released the intellectual property back to Mr. Weiss that you saw earlier, and now he can take it into the public. So now this is something that was very much private, kept mostly to the military community because they wanted the best drinking water, the best system they could have, so to keep our soldiers and sailors and others safe as they were going around the world to protect the world. And I believe in that 100%. But this is something that should have been made to the general public at the same time. And why we kept this, in doc arps for almost 40 years, I'll never understand, because we've had millions, actually almost billions of people dying that didn't need to because we weren't giving them the best of the best. But this system, according to the WHO organization, is that you need to filter out all the parasites. And this is something that's very important, and it needs to be down to 1 micron, which means it's beyond microscopic. And then we have to remove all the hazardous chemicals, heavy metals, PFAS. This is the microplastics. And they're saying that every person on planet Earth now is probably ingesting a credit card size amount of plastic, which we cannot digest, which is absolutely toxic. Every man, woman, and child on the planet every day is getting about 1 credit card worth of plastics in their system every day, and it's making people very sick. And then chlorine shows up. Chlorine's supposedly the friend of water, the friend of people, and it's absolutely the opposite. It needs to be removed, but you have to have a system that can remove it, and then you're still getting pure drinking water. And then by absorb and adsorb, this is a mixed medium to grab and hold, and then to actually process the organics that are coming in from all the waste systems. And that's what this is doing. And then the retention time to hold it long enough so that all of this toxic waste literally disappears into the system. And that's what's happening in this global water group. And I'm not here to sell anything. We do have a standing agreement with the Rotary International Foundation that anything that comes out of this, donations will go into underwrite WASH around the globe. And that's something that's very, very new. It just happened in the last year. And Salvador Rico, who is Mr. Water in the world of Rotary, is the one who has brought us into Big Rotary in Evanston and allowing this to happen. So I want to give a shout out to Salvador. And also right in front of me, I'm seeing smiling at me is Vince. He's the one, Prades from Mexico, that's been the right-hand man with Salvador in this whole effort. And thank you, Vince, for being here today. And then the last thing is, or the last two things, retention time to remove all of these elements. You're going to see this in just a minute. And then ultraviolet light, which actually is the final finish where it absolutely kills anything that may be left. So this is what we're going to be talking about. And then I'll go through what these systems actually really look like. Right now, I just want to really give you the terminology, educate you a little bit about what we're seeing, what needs to be done on planet Earth to start healing from the inside out. We're talking about human beings, but also we're talking about all the animals because we're eating tainted meat and fish because of the toxicity of the flesh that we're getting for our meals. Even if you cook it, it's still, in many cases, it's in there and not maybe not prepared properly. And then it's going on all the plants. So what we have is we have this giant water machine all around planet Earth that's trapped, but it's trapping in the worst that could be. And we have to remove that, all those toxicities that we're going to be talking about right here that actually are harming not only human beings, which we're worried about, but also the animals that we depend upon in our communities. And then so all the vegetables, the herbs, all of that. So you have dirty water, it goes onto a tomato plant. Guess what? You have a dirty tomato plant. So the causality is there and we're not seeing it. And this is what we're raising the alarm bells as we move through the 21st century, that we have to start looking this as a total system on planet Earth that we're trapped with, and there's a way to break out of it, and we have to start doing it. And Christians here from the Peace City world, and we're talking without them. You're going to rebuild these cities. One of the first things that we need to do is rebuild the water system, and they need to be eliminated as there. Use the basic infrastructure wherever possible, but we need to get the water right. And Christian and his senior partner, John, are doing a fantastic job looking at these cities. They want examples on each of the continents, and these water systems need to be there front and center. But anyway, so what we have to do in these systems, if you look at it, it's very simple. You'll see this is in a 40-foot container because most of these were containerized to be shipped all over the world. And this is probably most of what we'll be doing, and with Vince and Salvador and Mexico, and also with Rossi in Colombia. These are the kinds of things that we'll be able to do, is because these are manufactured, they're actually tested, and they are proven to work before they ever leave the factory, again, which is in Texas. It's shipped over, and within 3 days, these systems are installed and working. So you go from a system of dirty water that's making you sick to within 3 days of being on site and hooked into the system. Once this thing starts, within less than about 2 hours, it's starting to produce pure drinking water. So it eliminates 100% of the organic sludge, which is all the bad stuff. That's why it's called black water, because it's no good. Methane and chlorine. Methane is much more hazardous and dangerous to the environment, than just regular greenhouse gases, and much more hazardous to the environment, to humans, to plants, to everything, than the greenhouse gases, the emissions coming out of cars and buildings, etc. Chlorine, this is something that again needs to be removed, because if you have dirty pipes, dirty water, there is chemical reactions that happens there, and it becomes a carcinogenic. And then the bacteria, and we know that we talked about the bacteria, and then we go to the next one: eliminate 100% of the PFAS, which is the microplastics. This is something that is becoming a worldwide disaster in plain sight. People are aware of it, but I mean, how many things in your house, how many things around you is made with plastic? Parasites. I was at the Melbourne in the House of Peace, and one of my past presidents came to see me, and she saw this parasites. She says, "We don't have parasites in our water. How could we have parasites?" We're in Washington, D.C. It's the largest, most sophisticated water processing plant literally in the world. It's so rated. I went, as soon as she left, I got on the internet. 50% of the youth, and this is the teenagers and young children in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, have parasites. 50%. In some places that I've traveled on the African continent, in many of these communities, 85 to 90% of the young people have parasites. And this is not pointing blame at anyone. If we can have 50% parasites with the #1 rated processing unit in the world, we've got a real problem. And then hazardous chemicals. The last number I heard was 66,000 chemicals. I think it's now over 100,000 chemicals that's getting into the water from every different ways. And then viruses like the coronavirus, the common cold, all of those things. These are all collecting in these wastewater treatment facilities, and all they're doing is drying it and putting it out on the land, which means it goes back into the water bodies. It goes into the soil to make dirty plants. It gets dried and blown into the air, and we're breathing this stuff. Oh, terrible. And the third part of this is 100% reusable, drinkable, purified, and it's what's called new water. And people said, I don't think we want to do that in our societies. Well, believe me, no matter where you are on planet Earth, if you're taking water from a river or a stream, even a surface water body, you're getting somebody else's hazardous material, because somewhere else that water has come there. Now, if you're in the high Himalayas, you're in the Austrian Alps, and you're right at the base of the Alps or the alpine areas, you're getting most likely pure drinking water, but now you're getting black soot over everything. And so these ice caps, that's one of the reasons they're melting, not only a climate change and the warming of the environment, but the fact is black soot is now covering almost all of the Arctic and the Antarctic. Think of that. Black soot. What's black soot? This is what's coming out of the automobiles, the buildings, all these other things going into the environment. It's swirling around the world. 24 hours later, if it comes out of a tailpipe or a smokestack in China, it's already back to China, back where it came from. If it's coming out of the United States, the second largest producer of greenhouse gases and black soot, it's back to us in 24 hours. So these are the kinds of circles and cycles that we have to know about, realize the causality of it, and then break it. And so this is what it's all about. So I'm going to go through these very quickly. I have 1 minute and 17 seconds. What they do is they manufacture and assemble this in Texas. They test them. And so then when they go into these containers so that they can actually put on the ships, or they can actually be flown in different places and dropped into many different areas. But this will give you an idea of what they look like inside. So these are very practical. Most of this is stainless steel. This is all ruggedized because most of the customers were the military or the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. So these had to go in very harsh areas. And it only takes about one person about 30 to 60 minutes a day, one person, about 30 to 60 minutes a day to go in and check this equipment, make sure it's operating. And also the Global Water Group actually has these on satellite. So it's monitoring these systems 24/7, 365. So if something start going on, they'll know about it probably before your technician even gets there. This is for a 10,000 person population. You've got, and also you can take the toilets, the laundry, kitchen, bathroom, sinks, everything, all of that water that comes out of there. And then that can actually be turned into pure drinking water. And depending on what the effluent is in that is how long this cycling will go on. But it continues to go until it's actually proven to be truly pure drinking water. Everything is out of it. And if you need to have the chemicals, because the water, and particularly surface water, is so dirty, it actually will put the chemicals, not chemicals, but the nutrients, the minerals that you need for daily life back into it. And that's what this tube here on the right-hand side, if you see this, that's what's actually re-injecting into the water. It's going to go out to the citizens either through the municipal pipes or goes out to a common collection part, and then it'll be suitable for drinking because it's not going to deplete what's in the body. This is again a schematic of how this works, and this was developed actually for the UN Commissioner, High Commissioner for Refugees, so that refugees, most of them who never had a place to really go to the bathroom, take a shower, wash their clothes, whatever, they get into the refugee camps and the place where these goes. Now they have access to everything. And so they've had, as far as the water is concerned, they're in better shape than they've ever been in their lives. This gives you an idea of loading up, these systems to be shipped overseas to different areas. You see the U.S. Navy on this. These are on most of the ships as well, because these are much more efficient. And these can be powered by solar, wind, low flow hydro, other types of renewable energy sources, or like what Christian and John are doing in these cities. If there is a proven grid, these can go on the grid. But most of these are distributed systems and they can be powered by renewable energy. These are the 40-foot containers. This particular unit right here, if you see these two together, this is 1 million liters a day system you see right in front of you. So, and these things can go to any size that you want. They're scalable. They put them in order. And so, again, you can go from being in a very small village in the middle of the desert, and all of a sudden you have renewable energy source, water, and energy. And then, or you can replace, go into New Delhi in India, which is probably 30 plus million people, and you go into Lagos, which I think now is like 40 million people. And these would be distributed throughout the city. And we're actually looking at Harare in Zimbabwe, which is now almost 3 million for the first experimental that's being done, because this is just now being brought in as a public good. And I'm going to leave with this one right here. This is a 70,000 person refugee camp, and this is their water. So everything that comes out of there that normally would be thrown on the ground or put in a pit in the ground, again, which is causing huge disease opportunities and really poisoning the groundwater or the aquifers. All of a sudden, all of that is captured. It's processed, as you can see in these units right in front of us, and then that goes right out of this system as pure drinking water. And this can be run in perpetuity. This is one of the things. You're not depleting the surface water. You're not depleting the groundwater. You're not depleting the aquifers, because once these things start, you start producing your own water, but it's to a level that the people had never had before. Okay, I've going over a little bit on that. So, Chris, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and I'm here to answer any questions, and I'll be glad to stay around as long as people like, and VJ can put up with us. But there's a lot more we can talk about. But I think I've given you an overview. This is what we're going to be talking about at COP. And we've already have some presentations lined up for there. And this is the same message that we're going to be implementing over the next 5 years, in our first 5 years of a 50-year plan, as far as getting rid of all the hazardous waste, providing pure drinking water, and then putting it into planting trees and sustainable nutrition. Chris, it's back to you, sir, and thank you for letting me be with you.
Thank you so immensely, Dr. Sam, for that wonderful one. It was quite informative. It was quite educative. Here in our climate, here in our part of the world, waterborne diseases has always been a major issue. So, and I thank you so immensely for this particular topic. I think you just also want to welcome some new Rotarians I have seen joined us. Then I will leave the platform open for questions and answers, and a few other contributions that anybody might want to bring on this topic.
Yeah, and if you can, I can't see more than 4 people on here. So if somebody wants to collect those, Stanley or George or both, if you want to collect those, and you can just read me the question, I'll be glad to respond.
Okay. So if you have a question, just unmute and go ahead, please.
I know I haven't done that good
Dr.
a job.
I think I have a question for my Uncle Sam.
Yes, Stanley, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you for this very interesting and insightful presentation. I'd like to ask, however, this unique system, I'm thinking like after all the filtration, after the digester has done its part, and then the filtration has happened, what happens to the toxic material that's collected, because I'm sure when the water passes through, there should be some residues. So how are those residues properly disposed of so they don't recontaminate or cause more disease, more problems to the populace?
Yeah,
That's my question.
Yeah, let's just go back up here. What this does, there is no waste left. Zero. That's why I keep putting in all my emails. No. Da-da-da-da. All this is gone. What it does, it goes in. You see this area here on the right-hand side with the little ladder going down. That's where the water first comes in. Oh, I need to say one thing I didn't. There's one pipe in, which is the dirty water. It could be salt water, it could be brackish water, or fresh water, which is usually very filthy, dirty surface water. And there's one pipe out over here on where it says the purifier and recycler, and that's the drinking water. So there's nothing in this system that collects anywhere. So the first area, this will settle out. So if you have, some large, like sand, gravel, these kinds of things, that'll collect in here. In the digester, all these organics are constantly being recycled through here. This is both aerobic and anaerobic bacteria in this. And it'll go through here. It stays for however long it does because this is all computerized. It goes into the clarifier and it's tested. If you'll see on the left side here where it says recycler and purifier, if I was standing in front of you, you could see my finger. But what it does, it will test that. And if there's any toxicity in that, either chemicals or parasites or bacteria, whatever it is, it goes back into the digester. So this thing, I see my finger kind of works in the screen. But anyway, it keeps recycling this until it certifies that it's pure. And then it will go out and see here where it says purifier. And then that's when it will go out back to the waiting public. But in where this digester and clarifier is, there's nothing left. Zero. So
Wow.
there's nothing And they have these systems. You saw those, the larger system there that's been operating almost 8 years. It's been cleaned out once. That's it. There's a system in El Salvador, two systems in El Salvador. They brought in after a big hurricane down there. One went into the police department and administration building. The other went to the hospital. Those have been operating there 17 years. They were provided by the U.S. military. That's the only way people could get these things. And they've not been serviced once in 17 years. And they're still working. And they know that because they're hooked into the satellite and they can monitor that. And so these also now are being used, the nanotechnology as a filtration. And one of the first step up here, you see it. And what it does, it has a backwash. So once this water is clean, it will backwash that filtration system out. That goes back to the digester, that water that was collected off of the nanotechnology filters goes back in, and it just keeps running that system over and over and over and over. And then once a day, just like what Vince is working on in Mexico, they'll be trained. The locals will be trained. We'll probably have 2 or 3 of them. You only need one, and it takes less than an hour to go in and test the system once a day. And then if there's anything, they can call directly into Global Water Group that's monitored 24 hours a day. But actually, Global Water Group, if there's an anomaly, they'll know about it before even the locals will, because again, it's going back through the satellite. But there's nothing left in this system. So there's nothing out of this. So you're not trying to dry stuff, the bad stuff. You're not having to scoop it up, put it on trucks, deliver it out to the fields. And most of this gets washed off back into the water, goes into the air, it poisons the soil. You don't have any of that going on. This is a one-stop shop for pure drinking water.
That's amazing. That means
That's
solving.
it. And there's some thousands of these around the world. We just can't see them because they're on mountaintops, in Afghanistan. They're all over the desert and Iraq. They're in the Horn of Africa. But these systems are actually on the African continent and have been there for 20 more years. You just can't see them because these are all restricted bases that they're on. So this is all proven technology. And now we have the opportunity to bring it into the public good. And that's what we want to do through Peace City World and numerous others, but Rotary International, because we have this agreement now that Vince and Salvador Rico worked on to start bringing this into Rotary clubs and their communities to do this. And these can be very small units. They go from backpack size. In other words, a 3-man team that's going out on recon, they take their whole water system on their back, and they weigh about 30 pounds, and they don't need to be, drinking and trying to find water and poisoning themselves. They're having pure drinking water with them on their back, and then they can go up to where they're, city size. And the number of these containers that you'll have, or these can be actually put together on site, but they will all be manufactured, tested, and everything, and shipped in containers till they get to site. So, but anyway, back to your very astute question, Stanley. Nothing is left. Everything is gone.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. Thank you. That's amazing.
Very good stuff, Dr. Sam. Like I said, it's a very important topic. It's just something we must learn, practice, and teach. And I'm so glad that you've done a very good justice to this particular topic. So I'm going to have Rotarian Chinonso. Are you there? Chinonso.
My president.
Hear me.
I have a question to ask.
You have a question to ask?
Yes, I have a question to ask Dr. Sam.
Okay, go ahead, Richard Edmond.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sam. The presentation is very wonderful and quite enlightening. But I would like to ask you, this short presentation you have given to us is not, for me, is not sufficient. Is there a way our club, the Rotary Club of Abuja Municipal, can get maybe a brochure, a hard copy, or a brochure, a presentation or something on this very particular topic so that we can study it all over again and get to understand it better, the way it works? That is question number one. And secondly, can our club contact you directly if we want more information on this particular topic and the device on how it works and all that? These are the two questions I have.
Very excellent questions, Edmond. And I was going to go out on that, but you've already anticipated. The short answer is yes and yes. We actually, what we want to do is from everybody here, and I think there's, if I'm not incorrect, I think there's at least 10 countries represented here today in this particular seminar, maybe a few more, but at least 10. And what I'd like to do is to have, if you have real projects, just like what Vince is putting together for me in his watershed in Mexico. And what we're looking at there is 15 small communities, 15 towns rated as a town by the central government, and then 5 large cities within his area. And then what we want to do is we want to take these to the company, and they'll start sizing and analyzing it. And then there'll be more questions about, what is the water source? Then there'll need to be some samples taken of the water so they know exactly what the pathogens and the carcinogenic nature of the water. And they'll give you everything. So Edmond, if you want to read, I mean, literally, this guy turns out hundreds of pages of information because they have so many systems around the globe. And so, yeah, we can get everything you want. My particulars are actually in chat. Hopefully they're still there. Let me go back to chat. Let me see if I can drop it in again. I hope yep, here it is. So anybody that wants to contact me, put in there your name, your club, because again, we're tracking this through the Rotary Foundation, and then about your community. In other words, how many people, what's the average number of leaders per day per person in your particular community? Because in many of the African communities, it's equivalent to, I think it's about 12 or 15 or so liters per day, about 3.5 U.S. gallons. And then I think in Mexico now it's about 75 to 80, maybe up to 100 liters per day per person. Some of these communities, it's 3.5 gallons a day per 6 people. So we need to know all of that. Do you have cattle that will be drinking out of the water? The water source. There's some very basic questions, about 5 or 6, if we get it. And then again, we're a nonprofit, so we're not trying to sell this. But if we can do good through Rotary and we can get more funds into the Rotary Foundation to start paying for these systems, we daggone well are going to do it. And that's what we're all about. But anyway, Edmund, we can give you all the information you want. You have my particulars. If you'll just send me, again, your name, club, and then if you have a specific community, and the more specific you can be, the better. We'll get you you can get everything about this. So no mysteries. It'll be 100% transparent, because it has to be, because this was with the U.S. government and they had to know everything. So nothing can be hidden.
Thank you.
Now, thank you for your question. That was an excellent question. Anyone else have any questions? There's a lot of people here, and I think Sadif. Is that your hand up?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
go ahead.
Dr. Sam, this has been a most amazing, informative presentation. Thank you. And I just couldn't help but say that SRAC and WASHRAC overlap so much in so many
Right.
areas.
Absolutely.
I'd like to ask your opinion about recycling rainwater. I suggested that this should be applied to a few clubs in the Black Sea region where there's a lot of rainfall, and they
Right.
started doing this project. Secondly, this water purification system that you mentioned, it is also being applied in the earthquake region in Turkey, southeast part of Turkey, where not only refugees but earthquake victims are sort of profiting from that, benefiting from that. And it has recently been implemented. I don't know which institution or which company did it, but it has been recently installed, and they're very happy about it to reduce diseases and everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's not coming through here. You know, I know that for sure.
yeah,
And this is not the next generation. This is the next generation. But actually, it's cheaper than what people are actually using right now. In Abuja, not Abuja, excuse me, in Harare, right now they're saying they're using 19 different chemicals to clarify the water. 19. They're spending over $200 million a year in that city to import chemicals, 200 million US dollars worth. That's
and
ridiculous.
I'm also sort of convincing clubs to do a project on getting rid of hazardous chemicals like pharmaceuticals. A lot of people have lots of boxes of medicine in their homes, which they don't use and they just throw away, which is very dangerous for our health. And Ministry of Health and Chamber of Pharmacists are doing a project on this to avoid the problem of to avoid the problem of using it, wasting it in the rubbish bins and throwing it in the toilets, etc.
Yeah, the issue is that just like recycling, we should be doing it.
Yeah.
It is a big deal. We've had it on Emerald Planet TV numerous times, but we're still getting less than 11%. So all of these projects, it's just like changing light bulbs. I've had people in the environmental community belittle somebody that says, I'm going to put in LED lights, and they're proud of themselves. And the environmentalists say, in essence, big deal. I say it's a very big deal. If that's the first step they've taken to change, out incandescent light bulbs and put in LEDs, that's a big deal. Whatever people are doing to make their lives better, to make their surroundings better, to make their water, their way of life better, that's a big deal. We need to embrace it and we need to honor it. But none of these systems will do what this will do. None of them are in the same universe as this. I'm within 15 miles of the #1 water system in the world. That's DC Water. It's the largest, it's the most complex, it does the best job. It still does not meet WHO standards. And you think about all these others, and Vince and I have been out to a number of communities. Systems have not been working in 10 years. So it's what's called open piping in West Virginia, the United States. Everything is coming out of those houses, off of those farms, out of the chicken barns, out of the dairy barns, all that, going right into the stream, right into the river, right into the lakes. So what we have to do is we have to have a mentality as Rotarians, because now you've been with me, you can no longer say, oh, I don't know anything about that. Yes, you do, because we've been together, and I can shame you publicly and say you do know better. But we have to, and I'm wagging my finger with a smile. But the whole thing is that we have to, as Rotary, be the example of what is absolutely the best. And the thing about this is actually less expensive than anything that anybody is doing, because if you extrapolate all of the cost, what does it cost for one person to have cancer and to go through the hospital for operations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And there's millions of people are getting cancer from their water. Just ask the Chinese. They have 3 times more cancer rates in China than any other place on the planet, and it's coming directly out of the water because everything is going in to the water. And so we need to go to the next best level. And this is why we need to, as Rotary, we just need to say, we're not just going to put in water systems. I learned that almost 2 decades ago. And I was ashamed of myself. We were putting in these water systems. In 6 months, most of these things were no longer working, even though we had committees and we had trained people to operate those. And because there's now more water within these communities than they ever had before, now there was greater waste. And there was no place to put the waste. Where are the people going to put the waste? We don't think about that. And because it's got to go somewhere. I mean, it's solid. Even if it's liquid, it's still solid. And so what we're doing is we're multiplying contamination on top of contamination. And you almost hear my voice like an evangelist, but we need to be evangelists that we need to change the system and no longer accept what's been done over the last 200 to 300 years. Like in the city of Boston, United States, they're still using wooden pipe was put in by the British when we're a colony. Can you believe that? I mean, I find that mind-boggling. How could we do that to ourselves? But we do it because we think it's cheap. And the cheap is not cheap. It's costing us probably 2 to 3 times more to not do it right and have these millions, billions of very sick people not having the quality of life they should have that they can have, because we have to cure people from the inside out. Food is medicine. That goes back to the ancients. We are what we eat. We are what we drink. This is what we have. These are mantras that we have to emphasize in Rotary, that we can't just build back something as it was. If it's not better, then don't do it. And that doesn't mean you deny people, but we have to stop and just saying, well, we'll get it done no matter what. No, we're not. We should, as Rotarians, not just be doing something to get it done because it'll be out of the way and we can forget about it. It's got to be done right. And it's got to be the 4-way test, right? If we think about the 4-way test, we can't keep doing this stuff. And that goes back to, I mean, everything you're talking about, Sadif, with the pharmaceuticals and all that, we shouldn't be having all these pharmaceuticals. Why do we think that's such a great thing that these pharmacists can go recycle these pills that people aren't taking when the pills are part of what's killing them? I mean, the whole system is based on greed and money and ease and do it and not have to think about it. Rotarians have the 4-way test. We can't do that. We can't do that. Amen. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you so much once more, Dr. Sam. Your immense knowledge and talent on this has been something, there's no way to thank you enough for what you do and the time you put to doing it. I just do we have any other question or contribution? Right now, I think I just want to present to you, the guest speaker, a certificate of appreciation. And this presentation, I'm going to have Rotarian Dauphin. Are you there with us? Rotarian Callistus, are you there? Kali. Let me talk to the ones I am seeing. Okay, Rotarian Edmund.
Yes,
I'm going to have
President.
you give the vote of thanks to our guest speaker. I'm also going to share a certificate that we're eventually going to make available to him.
Okay.
So just that's the certificate of appreciation. So you can read it out and give the vote of thanks.
Okay. The certificate of appreciation is not so clear. Okay. To Rotarian Dr. Samuel Hancock. I'm sorry, this is not so clear here. RI Disease Prevention and Control, 21st Century Wash New Rotary Mission, providing pure drinking water, no hazardous waste discharges. This certificate is being presented to you, dear Rotarian, by the Rotary Club of Abuja for the wonderful presentation that you have just made, not only to us, but to all who are participating right now. And I can assure you that that which you have shared with us this evening will live with us for the rest of our lives. We here in Africa, we have a saying that water is life. So that which you have talked to us about this evening is actually bringing back life to us. And we look forward to having you again in our midst. And we're immensely grateful to you. Please accept most sincere appreciation of your efforts and your kind presentation to us. On behalf of our president, Rotarian Chris Uchendu, and on behalf of all the members of Rotary Club of Abuja Municipal, we say a very big thank you to you, and we say God bless you.